execute, man.
Прямой и боковой слева.
In over 3 decades and through 300 battles in the ring, Buakaw has asserted himself as one of the greatest strikers in martial arts history. And single-handedly altered the course of the sport's development. Formerly known as Poor Pramuk, he forced K-1 to ban prolonged clinching with his dominant infighting. Became the organization's first 2-time middleweight king. And then pieced out to conquer the world stage. Today we'll recount the legendary journey of the White Lotus, from a regional champion to a mythical icon. Furthermore, the 41-year-old Buakaw will soon return to the big ring.
Вокав опустил перчатки. Рой Джонс Джуниор просто.
Sambat Banchamek was born in a small Thai village in the Serene province on May 8, 1982. As is customary, he stepped into the ring at the young age of 7, being dubbed the Black Demon for his dark skin. The moniker suited him well, foreshadowing his future fearsome reputation even by exceptional local standards. I first saw the fight and fell in love with Muay Thai. We gathered a group of kids and started training ourselves. You had to pay to perform, and my mom gave me 100 baht from her last bit of money. The entire village came out to support me. That's how it all began. Before long, Sambat's enchanting charisma was on full and captivating display, drawing attention of female spectators, who gleefully watched his relentless work through the ropes. At 12 years old, he moved closer to the capital, Bangkok, and joined the Poor Pramuk gym, eagerly immersing himself in a hardcore training regimen. Sambat adopted a new name, which according to traditional beliefs would protect the bearer from the evil eye. From now on, he would be known as Buakaw, which translates to White Lotus. The last name Poor Pramuk came from the gym's name, and suddenly he was feared more than any other curse. By 2004, the Thai fighter had claimed a critical amount of belts and international level victims. Among them were notable Japanese names, which paved the way for the White Lotus to join the world's premier organization. Already in April, Buakaw entered the K-1 World Grand Prix at 154 pounds, a new weight class for him. In the round of 16 of the most prestigious kickboxing tournament, he effortlessly tripped his opponent, occasionally adding low kicks.
Here, early on in this, the first.
But once the insolent fella decided to bite back,
Jordan Thai,
and arrogantly put together combinations,
otherwise this is going to detriment Jordan. Under K-1,
Poor Pramuk unleashed his true ferocious self.
From Jordan Thai. Thai having to get out of trouble. Oh, they're so tough.
The adversary's only achievement in this 9-minute-long beatdown was not tasting the floor.
The Thai is going about his business in relentless fashion. And Jordan Thai needs to cover up, really. The Thai has done.
As a result, the White Lotus advanced to the final stage of the annual Game of Thrones. It was a one-day tournament in July where 8 of the deadliest kickboxers on the planet competed for the title of Undisputed Division Monarch. First, the 22-year-old Buakaw faced John Wayne Parr. The renowned Australian was part of the sport's nobility, who had seen it all in the ring. And is one of the favorites to win the Grand Prix. It's not surprising that the start of this confrontation turned into a showcase of Muay Thai beauty with plenty of kicking exchanges.
どのタイミングでどう出してくるか
ミドルの連発強引パワー、圧倒的に判定勝利ということにもなりましたけど、この時もパンチがよく顔面を捉えていました。
Nevertheless, around the halfway point, Parr switched to boxing combos
上がってくるか本当わかんないですね。
はい、ボディを出してきます。
and managed to seize the initiative.
少なくなっている第1ラウンド。さあ、足で返していきます。ボディ、左右のボディ、畠山さん、今のボディを。
In response, Poor Pramuk changed his tactics to keep the foe at bay, pumping kicks.
これはね、精神的にはパ
ンチを警戒してるんですよね。小笠原渡アナウンサーからのレポートでした。いきなり止める。
The new approach bore fruit, and the third stretch ended on even terms.
相手は一体どちらになるのか。ウアカオがプレッシャーをかけられている。
Nobody was willing to give up an extra round either.
さあしかし上演パワーやはりプレッシャー。ワンツーが入った。顔面を捉えた。ウアカオ大丈夫か。しかし体勢が上がって。
Still, a surge of adrenaline allowed Buakaw to go on the offensive, which lasted until the bell.
に対して蹴りを返してくる。
アルコール勝ったと思ったんですけど、
しかし
来ますよ。
22歳。
Having secured a high-profile victory, the Thai prodigy then clashed with Takayuki Koryumaki. The lanky karateka had one-touch demolition power, could throw solid knee strikes, and even managed to defeat Mike Zambitis earlier that night. In the beginning, the Japanese athlete disrespectfully swept the Thai off his feet.
80 кило. И вот так набросился.
Grinning, Buakaw returned the favor,
Встречал живот.
and then punished him thoroughly.
Король. Встречает Хиромаки, правый через руку, левый навстречу. И колено в голову. Это уже Буакав.
Unchallenged aerial and terrestrial supremacy lasted for 4 minutes of doom. Until Koryumaki finally learned his lesson.
Все, на этом достаточно.
After dismantling Takayuki and speed running into the final, Poor Pramuk crossed paths with the Japanese schoolgirl's wet dream, Masato Kobayashi. The Silver Wolf, as they called him, was one of the best kickboxers of his generation, with an extensive resume. Moreover, he was the reigning K-1 Grand Prix champion, coming in as the favorite. Kobayashi made it to the finale considerably battered. However, his indomitable samurai soul left him no choice but to engage in fiery shootouts. In retaliation, Poor Pramuk started front kicking, which gave him an advantage at range. To avoid trading in the pocket, he also happily engaged in clinches. And Masato's only hope was to read the Lotus Sutra. Buakaw's parade of excitement continued to gain momentum. Once the Japanese striker's prayers took effect, Poor Pramuk's total dominance morphed into a toe-to-toe struggle. Even though the challenger was ahead thanks to patented Muay Thai moves, The fearless Masato had no intention of giving in. As they approached the finish line, Buakaw was fully confident in his victory. Unfortunately, the slyness of the Japanese judges showed itself. Buakaw had to win the extra round that his enemy was gifted. Luckily, Masato found no antidote to the tie-ups. By the end of the 12-minute-long scrap of the year, where fans barely had time to wipe off their sweat, poor Pramuk left no doubts about the champion's name. Previously unknown outside his homeland, the Thai prospect became an instant global star. I was happy to showcase the power of Muay Thai to the world. I'm thankful to K-1 for at least that. After this, our sport was heard everywhere.
Muay Thai boxing champion.
This Grand Prix had far-reaching consequences for K-1. In order to discreetly prevent Buakaw's hegemony, the organization imposed a rule across all weight classes, limiting clinch strikes to 1 per engagement. Now, the Thai phenom couldn't use not just his elbows, but also consecutive knees. The effect of this taboo was on display against Kozo Takeda, where the White Lotus was forced to stay at distance.
カウンターで一発狙ってるんですよね。
飛びだー。おられたって別に構わないっていうそういう人間ですよね。
The battle-tested Takeda, who had fought Thai guys often and successfully, capitalized on the situation. Buakaw had to adapt on the fly during the intense encounter. The winning formula was discovered in the 5th. Adjusting to the new rule set and ringing Takeda's bell twice. In 2005, poor Pramuk went on to collide with the world champion from Belarus. His opponent did the utmost to earn the respect of the hard-headed Thai. But Buakaw's kick sounded like an explosion at a construction site. And he had no intention of holding back until the time expired. Everyone has their own idea of Muay Thai until they take a hit from a real Thai. They restricted me. I had to evolve and train in boxing 3 times more than before. In July, the White Lotus squared off against one of the elite, Albert Kraus, the winner of the first middleweight Grand Prix in 2002, despite being regarded as one of the most skillful kickboxers in the promotion.
He definitely trains hard and he's got skill.
He was not reluctant to spin the deadly windmill and grind his enemies down.
You wanted to knock him out. Oh, that's it. It's all over.
Kraus and Buakaw had crossed paths before. That time, the Dutchman shined on the counter. And sat the Thai down.
W jego wykonaniu przede wszystkim front kicka, który by pozwolił utrzymać. No tutaj jednak widać było, że
Poor Pramuk enacted revenge with a batch of artillery knees.
prowokować do walki w półdystansie, ewentualnie
He kept the gas pedal to the floor till the end.
Fantastycznie Krause blokuje te kopnięcia Taja.
Earning points in multiple collisions.
Widać wyraźnie, niech Państwo zwrócą uwagę na pracę. O, i teraz kapitalnie.
Nevertheless, the judges didn't appreciate his sportsmanship
Bardzo przyjacielski.
and awarded Kraus with a controversial win.
I trzeci sędzia decyduje, że...
Poor Pramuk drew conclusions from the 2005 Grand Prix rematch and became the one who always had the last say in exchanges.
パンチやっぱーキャリー 1.2 キロのブラカオに対してクラウスは 69.7 キロ
Albert never managed to catch up, while Buakaw, high on dopamine, rained down with hammers of fury.
見失ったラスト
特に
アパー右フリー打ち合いかわから打ち合いですさあ
The fresher tie was ahead in the closing stages.
持ち点前に向かっていく王者連覇はどこで出るかクラウス右ロック見切っています左
And comfortably went to a decision.
パンチが出せないクラウスローキックワンツー膝を出して右当たりは最下前人未到の定番のマックス連覇へ向けて
For the second year in a row, Poor Pramuk reached the final, where he was greeted by Andy Sauer. It was his first crack at the belt for the energetic Dutch technician, but his ability to send guys to the Shadow Realm was beyond doubt. It was a play of contrasts from the opening seconds. Buakaw delivered his signature explosive kicks. And did as he pleased in the tie-ups. Andy, on the other hand, excelled in sharp boxing flurries. At the end of the first, the contestants found the pulse of the battle. In the second frame, Poor Pramuk acknowledged Sauer as a worthy adversary to trade with and tried to trap him in bear hugs. The Dutchman realized clinching was inevitable and fired from all barrels whenever possible. In return, Buakaw sought to build an advantage to prevent any risk of a robbery. Andy defied his plans at times. When the dust settled, many believed that Poor Pramuk had done more overall. Still, the Japanese judges clearly disliked him and gave Sauer a chance. The Warriors stayed inside the squared circle for an additional 2 rounds, where the action didn't falter. It's been quite windy in the ring so far, but now the stormy sky crackled with lightning. Late into the 5th stretch, the bout was completely even. At this point, victory could go either way. Following a 15-minute massacre in front of 18,000 spectators, the Grand Prix Championship went to Andy Sauer. Disappointed, Poor Pramuk immediately left the stage. Yet everyone knew his vengeance would be legendary. All fighters have performances where they need to give more, but it's too late. This was just one of those days. As part of the Retribution campaign starting in 2006, the White Lotus faced Hiroki Shishido. The Japanese maverick attempted to corral the tie to the ropes with flashy combos. Buakaw pushed the annoying foe away and flatlined him. Nailing his man with a left hook just 15 seconds in, Poor Pramuk blew up the kamikaze with a single detonation. That same year, Buakaw crossed paths with Mike Zambitis, the wrecking ball of fury and reincarnation of Kratos in one person. The Greek bruiser's knockouts were so chillingly frightening that rumors about him catching 4 bodies in the ring circulated for years. Although not true, there were certainly grounds for these accusations. In the ballet of violence with Buakaw, despite Iron Mike's unusual agility, he rarely managed to land on the tie. Meanwhile, poor Pramuk targeted the legs, bombarded the rival with body kicks, and occasionally went up top. Even in the second round, the Spartan warrior was still desperately stuck in first gear. Zambidis' only successes were sporadic attacks to the midsection. He simply couldn't turn the tide and succumbed in every aspect to the world's second-best middleweight. With this convincing decision victory, the White Lotus joined the lineup of the 2006 K-1 World Grand Prix held in June. In the quarterfinals, he was greeted by Yoshihiro Sato, the best Muay Thai practitioner in all of Japan. Buakaw had significantly improved his boxing since the last tournament, something that the enemy reluctantly acknowledged. A pull 1-2 counter landed on the money. It wasn't time to write a will yet, and the spirited Sato went for broke. Buakaw put a bow on it in the second. After catching a front kick, the White Lotus uncorked a left hook that isekai'd the Japanese fighter into another universe. The same evening, Gago Drago awaited him in the semis, following his sensational upset win over Albert Kraus. The Armenian underdog immediately wounded the Thai's pride. Buakaw eagerly jumped into the melee and played the lead throughout the round, not giving the opponent a slightest chance to make it competitive. Gago tanked forward in the second, which suddenly helped his matters. The night was far from dull before, but now there were fireworks everywhere. And in all directions. Under the bloody moon, the White Lotus blossomed. The good old Muay Thai classic. A forearm frame, a right hand over the top, and Drago is already inspecting the canvas. Despite Gago's obvious willingness to keep going, by the end, Buakaw had only strengthened his dominance. Ultimately, the crowds and the judges' sympathies were undeniably with the Thai. A stroke of luck in the final was the old acquaintance Andy Sauer. On a streak of 24 victories, the Dutchman had previously made a splash with a spectacular knockout. and a triumph over Masato. All things considered, the rematch between two striking wizards couldn't leave anyone indifferent. It wasn't their first rodeo for both champs, and the battlefield was iron hot from the gate. Sauer assumed the role of the aggressor early. But having reminded that revenge is best served cold, Buakaw unpacked the Fluga Geheimen special. Showing unparalleled composure, and he tried to get back into the contest, for which he paid a steep price. There was no escaping for the battered Dutchman. Shaking Sauer's hemispheres with two collapses, the White Lotus ended the bloody carnival with a mean punch. At 24 years old, Pramuk became the first two-time champion in K-1's middleweight history and a national hero at home. Soon he would open the doors to his eponymous gym, a pretty audacious thing to do in Thailand. Buakaw would also transform into a movie star, with his deadly mustache remaining a hit for many seasons in local barbershops. All thanks to the Night of Cracking Chins 2006 edition. It's worth noting that after the tournament, the K-1 overlord got a bit cocky, showing off his invincibility. Causing behind-the-scenes dissatisfaction among the higher-ups. Victory in the upcoming 2007 Grand Prix would cement Buakaw as the greatest middleweight of the 21st century. That's why the organizers matched him up with Masato, the only top K-1 contender he hadn't faced in the past 2 years. The meeting started with relentless pressure from the Thai. And yet, the Silver Wolf pulled ahead with brilliant handiwork. Suddenly, the White Lotus couldn't keep up with his dynamic Japanese counterpart. Pramuk decided to revert to his proven rock'em sock'em style. But Kobayashi had already found a chink in his armor. Knocked down by a swift combo and caught under the shelling, Buakaw refused to cave in. In the second stretch, the versatile ring soldiers picked up where they left off. Then Buakaw got the punches going and slowed the Japanese fighter down, pumping low kicks. Only half a round later did Masato begin to restore the balance. And the ending went in his favor. According to the rules, Pramuk still had a chance to win the decision. However, the Silver Wolf sensed blood and was not willing to share the spoils. Not believing his own eyes, Buakaw was forced to retreat under the non-stop assault from the Japanese predator. Kobayashi was making history on live TV. And poor Pramuk had to accept not being in the driver's seat.
4年ぶりの王座奪還をかけて破りました
Overcoming very long odds, Masato delivered a fantastic performance. He outplayed Buakaw in areas where others crashed and burned, earning praise in the locker room. Thailand's favorite son didn't want to sit on the sidelines and flew to Seoul in 2008. The Korean zombie's neighbor rose from the ashes after a cemetery head kick, so poor Pramuk gave him an encore and added some punches on top. The opponent asked for more, and Buakaw began to question the guy's sanity. A strong sedative seemed to be the only option to save the patient. Nevertheless, the Thai phenom subdued the Korean without medication. The left check hook and the pull counter cross were the final arguments to stop the beating. The annual K-1 Grand Prix opened with a battle against Kraus. The Dutch butcher initially aimed at the torso. Buakaw recaptured control in response.
Jab outside thigh, big wrist kick from Buakaw. Nicely done from the Thai.
He kept Albert honest throughout the bout.
Knee there from Buakaw. Cracks on neck fast. Goes for another technique. 3-round ball.
And cornered him on the ropes for the sake of variety.
5 in a row now from Buakaw.
His right hand by kicking him so consistently on it. Very effective.
Kraus frantically tried to find success late by going up top.
Second round. Oh, nice. Double round performance again by Buakaw.
But poor Pramuk maintained the lead all the way to the bell.
Nice jab from Buakaw.
The unpredictable judges somehow saw it as a draw. The inspired Dutchman willed himself to restore parity.
And that's what Kraus is doing this week because Buakaw doesn't sleep. He's upstairs to the head looking for the headache maker.
Which lasted until the end of the extra round.
Kicks it down for Kraus. Nice uppercut from the right hand hold. Again a kick in display from Buakaw.
Kraus could have taken this round.
For once, karma was on poor Pramuk's side. Although Albert overtly disagreed with the decision. Despite the favorable outcome, Buakaw's relationship with K-1 was soured and he lost motivation. This became evident in his rematch with the previously beaten Sato. Early into the rematch, poor Pramuk was confident in his invincibility.
С другой стороны, если такая тактика приносит победу, тайский атлет, конечно, выглядел непробиваемым.
He brazenly answered Yoshihiro's left-hand attacks with his right.
Своему оппоненту его надо ломать.
And fired crosses down the pipe.
Ой-ой-ой.
The signature left hook was no less heavy.
Так все и надо делать. Вот, обратите.
The skinny Japanese counterpart absorbed the impact like SpongeBob and stayed on his feet.
Верить своего оппонента, что он будет постоянно бить его как раз вот этим и вот домолачивание.
He rightly emphasized body blows in the process.
Сказали добавить скорости, он это и делает. Называется в игру.
Fighting back fiercely, Sato gradually depleted the Thai's gas tank. This allowed him to spice things up in the third and make it a war of attrition.
Другое дело, насколько у тебя на это хватит, собственно, в обмен ударами постоянно. Раз попадешь один раз так, что соперник хватит. Он же все-таки тоже из плоти.
Put under excruciating pressure by the immortal Japanese, Buakaw was eventually stopped dead in his tracks.
Опа! Вот это да!
Enduring dozens of precise offerings,
Вот вам...
Sato exhausted the star and nailed him with a right hook.
Вот он!
Buakaw, knocked out, now you've seen it all.
Опа!
Coming back 3 months later, he locked horns with an Indian kickboxer nicknamed Black Mamba. Poor Pramuk proved to have steel not only in his heart,
Не шелохнул.
but also in his fists.
Все мы хотим вернуться в это чудесное время, а вот Буакав Прамук укачал его, убаюкал.
It didn't take him long to seal the deal.
Благодаря вот этим... сейчас было опасно. Печать поставил.
The Black Mamba's hopes for a Tarantino-esque happy ending were shattered, along with his consciousness.
Буакав Прамук с возвращением.
Buakaw's 5-year-long K-1 journey culminated in the semi-final of the 2009 Grand Prix against Sauer. The Thai Dynamo dominated in all aspects, tripping his enemy down.
Aggravating Sauer